Right. Hey guys, let's start the meeting. There are meeting minutes, and some of you have agenda items in the meeting minutes. And so I just wanted to note for all of you who want easy reference to the meeting minutes or to the Zoom link that you're on, the Zoom call, there's a couple of easy ways to remember it. The Zoom link is meet.meshery.io/dev. That's for the dev meeting because we have other working groups. And then if you want to get to the meeting minutes, it's a hyphen minutes like this. And so good. Well, welcome. This is the Meshery development meeting in which I'm hopeful. I was thinking we might just have one of these today since that's what I'd asked for a few times. But anyway, this is the Meshery development meeting. So go ahead and paste in that URL that I just mentioned and drop your name into the attendees list. Great. Good, good. Attendees, web cameras. So Meshery is a CNCF project. It's a sandbox project. We record the meetings and we're live streaming on YouTube right now, actually. So say hi to mom. Also, if you have any swear words, you can just hit the mute button before you say them, and then it's all good. Then you can say them, and then, you know. Also, if you have any terrible jokes like me, you can probably hit the mute button and just keep those to yourself. All right. So for those of you who might not be familiar, Meshery is the 6th highest velocity project in the CNCF. There's about 240 projects in the CNCF. So it's a fairly active project. We're understaffed, so to speak, or there are a number of maintainers, some of which are extremely active, some of which are not very active, and then a few in between, but there's not enough of them. There's a lot to get done. Meshery has a big scope as a project. So it's a cloud native management platform. In fact, it's a multi-cloud management platform. Meshery is able to model all kinds of infrastructure, anything that runs on Kubernetes, and then more and more, many things that don't. It has a very long roadmap for managing many things that don't. Something that you all might not be familiar with in terms of what Meshery can manage is, well, it's not just infrastructure. It can, it's the way that Meshery is set up to have models and components. Those models can contain components that have actions like send an email. So one of the unfinished pieces of Meshery's original architecture is a workflow engine. So Meshery is intended to have a workflow engine inside of it where you might do things like send an email or other actions. So, well, that's a bit about Meshery and the meeting and how to behave. If you've got agenda items, go ahead and drop them in here. An agenda item can be a question or a comment or an issue that you're wanting to discuss or a design spec that you have we want to review with others. So agenda items can be many different things. All right. And I see Yi isn't going to be with us today, so I think we'll have to fill in for her agenda item. But we've got an announcement up front. And so Ranak, I think you've got this announcement. You want to speak to this?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so first of all, huge congratulations to all of our certified Mystery contributors. And this is a big milestone, not just for each of you, but for the entire Mystery community. So each of this CMC batch that you have reflects your dedication, skills, and interest in the project. So we are proud for with all of our certified mystery contributors, and we'll be recognizing them as well on our socials as well. So thank you all for helping shaping around the mystery community and building the layer 5 community forward. So, but we also need a volunteer to form a weekly study group. So uh, we want someone to lead the study group. Like we can also have it as a recurring meeting in the calendar. So you can go ahead, the one who is leading that can go ahead and explain the what exactly is certified mystery contributor certification and what all units it has. So it has 5 units, and you can just go through all the syllabus of it as well in each of the meetings. So you can go ahead and explain the documentation, the design principles, whatever the documentation is talking about, so that the contributors get more familiar with the documentation and the certification. So the idea is that it helps to increase the chances of more number of certified contributors, uh, and if anyone would like to volunteer for that, uh, it's welcome. Yeah, that's all I have.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, I don't know. I'll just add to this and say that I'm not sure if any of you are aware, but Meshery as a project, it's the only project in the CNCF that has a certification for contributors. So, as a matter of fact, Meshery doesn't have a certification for its users just yet. There is, we as a community will hopefully make one or two of those, a certification for users. But right now, yeah, the first certification that Meshery has is for contributors. So it's aimed at you all. And I think, well, I know some of you on the call are represented here, like have taken this certification and have the cert. It's free, by the way. You can take that. I think there's 3 attempts that you can take on the exam. And so, yeah, there's no excuse. Go try it. If you're spending your time here, you may as well get. It's a good goal to chase after. It helps you study more and learn more about Meshery and its various components. And then, yeah, if you get, not only do you get a badge, but you get a unique certification, a certificate. So good. Yeah, Renak, that's pretty excellent. Actually, Renak, you're represented right here. Congrats, man. Congrats. Yeah, I think I'm not sure if did you recall just how many folks have been certified thus far?
Around 22, I believe.
Okay. So we released this certification at KubeCon this last November.
Mhm.
If I can do my simple math, that's a couple of months ago. So it's pretty fresh.
Mm.
How do we do this? Break the text. Snap. Okay. Well, good. Hey, yeah, if you're interested in if you're going to be studying for the exam, there's a ton of material out there. There's self-paced training, self-paced videos that maintainers of different parts of the project have given presentations and recorded them. So they're on meshery.io. They're posted out there. So you can watch those. And then the study guide is really the contributing docs. I'm sorry, the contributing guides in Meshery docs. Next week, I suspect we'll be celebrating more of you. Um, and that might be that might be an opportune time for someone who has taken the certification to share some thoughts or share some tips. In fact, that would probably make for a great blog post on meshery.io. Some some tips, some a cheat sheet, so to speak, or a proverbial cheat sheet. Maybe not a real cheat sheet, but just to post on meshery.io. The cheat sheet really is the contributing guides because the questions come directly from there. So, from a CMC from a CMC, a certified Meshery contributor. Cool. Anybody have questions or comments on the certification? There are, of the 23 people, I think last week Ranak had mentioned them. Probably we'll get a list together. Maybe if someone writes a blog post, we'll get that initial list. And I would encourage you, any of you that are interested, to reach out to these folks and ask them about how the exam was, or just to go take your first attempt. It does, anyway. All right, good. Hey, we're into our topics today. I'm afraid there's going to be a lot of Lee speaking on the call. And so I get sick of listening to myself. Perhaps, Matthew, if you're here, I don't know if you're ready, if you're in a position to maybe we could jump to yours first, if that's all right.
Yep.
Oh, okay. Oh, nice. All right, so,
Yes. Give me 1 minute. I'm just going
sure, yeah.
my screen here.
Just as a, and Matthew, I don't know if you're aware, but your video is coming through, but it's black, and so.
Oh,
Camera might be having a screens. Yeah, you removed it now.
Very private this morning. Very private. Privacy screen. Okay, bad job.
Just going to see the good screen. Should be that one. I need to tell me if you can read here what I'm showing.
I can.
Okay, so basically here you have already looked at it several times, Lee, but this is a pull request I made about the connection, Meshery CTL connection command, where I did some refactoring to use the connection schema instead of relying on the strict defined in Meshery server folder. And I just take the opportunities to rework a little the commands to make them more maintainable and readable from what I have seen. So yes, I had two last comments that I closed this morning. So it will be good to take a look. I can share here some example of what I have done for those who are not aware of what is schema in Meshery. So here you can see that in that command, in that file, we were referencing the Meshery server model connection to be able to fetch the connection page model here. But instead of that, I just move on Meshery schemas, where it's centralized repository where all our struct and models in Golang are now. So I just update the reference here. And after that, I have done some little refactoring. I can share some example here. In the mesh review command, so I introduced a small tool that will be able that we can reuse after that in other command that will allow us to display some component in YAML or JSON, which is currently the two types supported here. But if we want to add XML or anything else, it will be centralized in one place and reused everywhere after that. So it's here it was really a starting point. And yes, that's all what I have to share here.
Anybody have questions or comments on this? Yeah, I've got a
Also,
couple. Yeah,
yes, also, for example, for those who are new to Meshery, let me show you. You can see that here we have, I don't recall his name, but Shrikant here, and
Yeah, it's Shrikant.
yes, and Pragalva here. Both are started uh, to contribute to Meshery recently, and even if they have less exposure than me in Meshery, I ask them to review what I did because there were a lot of changes, and it's always good to have feedback from fresh eyes to see if we could do something better from a better way. So all people here in the call, if they want, can go on that pull request and also give feedback. Happy to hear. And yeah, that's it.
nice. Yeah, outside of people who give review on pull requests, having a fresh perspective, which is super helpful. It's really hard to get a fresh perspective when you've been looking at we're looking at something a lot. I mean, it's hard to get out of your mind and look at it differently. It's a great way to learn too. For all of you that are on the call, it's a great way to either learn Meshery or both. Learn the technology as well. Learn, I guess Cobra is the framework that's being used here with Golang as the language. And then there's a Bash automated test suite that's being used as well. And so two comments or two notes or questions, maybe for Matthew. One of those is that that this is very much needed, that we need to rebase a lot of Meshery's components, the CLI in this case, on Meshery schemas, which is what you'd said, that like there's a number of constructs inside of Meshery. A connection is one of those constructs. They are formally described and defined inside of an open API schema document. And the adherence to that schema document in each of Meshery's components facilitates interchange between them, facilitates a common understanding of what those components are. And so we're going to talk about the UI in a little bit, undergoing some of the same work to be more and more schema driven from these specific specifications that Matthew is sharing. So there's a whole repository dedicated to schemas, and they're just individual documents that describe a construct in Meshery, a logical construct, like a connection. If Meshery connects to a Kubernetes cluster, how do you describe that connection? That's what one of the schemas discusses. Right? It just captures that in very specific language. So that's wonderful. There's something else that's happening here. And actually, Matthew, you can clarify for me. This PR is relatively significant that it rebases the connection command on schemas. That's a significant thing unto its own. That you're not just doing it for that command, but you're also bringing forth a common utility for how it is that people want the output of a command displayed. So you said often if you were for many of the commands, you can have the output returned to you in either YAML format or JSON format, which is what you said. So you're just bringing forth a common utility that makes that brings up the quality of our code and the consistency of our user experience. But in addition to that, there is, I think, built into here is something of a migration or like a deprecation and migration of the Meshery CTL system config command, that command, and the migration of that functionality over to Meshery CTL connection command. And so for those of you who are trying to follow along with those words that I just said, they're in the chat, in the Zoom chat. Meshery CTL system config. Husseina has worked on that command quite a bit. So she's on the call. She's one of the maintainers. And it's migration over to Meshery CTL connection create. So a question that I have for you, Matthew, is, well, the behavior of the system config command was that its output or the job that it got done was to create and form a kube config file that was formatted in a way that Meshery server can use it to readily go connect to a Kubernetes cluster, one or more Kubernetes clusters. Great. And I think I'm about to answer my own command. I think it's been so long. Is it true that that command also, through the act of creating the kube config, presenting that kube config to Meshery server, that it would create a new connection and kind of register that connection?
I did not check, but I will take a look because I have used it on my local provider and connect on a Minikube instance I have running locally. So I didn't check if it has been added in the UI. I just focused on the CTL part. I will take a look and answer you about that.
Oh,
Good question.
Husseina, you don't happen to remember, do you, from the system config command? Where it stopped?
What you said?
Oh, I wonder if Husseina on the call, if she remembers the
Yeah.
system config.
Oh, can you repeat the last part, Lee?
Yeah,
So with system config, we do download the kube config file, and uh, I didn't get the question
yeah,
actually.
and then the last bit of that is just in addition to creating a well-massaged or a well-formed kube config file,
Mhm.
do we also end up creating a new connection in Meshery server? The reason that this is, so originally this command didn't do that, but originally it was like many years ago, many moons ago. And in that time, it might now be performing that operation as well. Like once it has the kube config file, it might also try to register the connection. And that's helpful if it does. That's nice. And actually, if it does, that gives credence to the migration, the idea that the system config command would be deprecated, and in its place would be the connection create command.
Okay.
Lee,
So far, whatever I remember, we don't actually create that connection with the config command. It was specifically for downloading that config. Yeah, from what I remember. Yeah.
yes, for just from I have in mind, we just download the file, check the current context, set a new context, and that's it. I don't think the connection is created with Meshery to talk with that cluster after it's done.
Got you. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Very good.
So this should be this is something that we could we need to go to add, right?
Yeah, let me replay that for everybody. I think hopefully just about everybody is following along and understanding what's being said. I'm going to say it one more time because just like Matthew said, I think it's an opportunity for everybody to understand. I'm fairly close to it, and it'd be helpful if other people can weigh in. So I'm going to replay the same conversation that we just had. I think it's just written out over here as a question. So this is in Slack. Okay, that's not it. I put it into Slack, right? There we go. Is it? All right. So pardon my phrasing or what, I don't know, but so we might want to be cautious about the name of the connection create subcommand, as we reflect on what it's actually doing. So once it has prepared a kubeconfig file, in order for it to live up to its name, we'll want it to actually pass that kubeconfig file along to Meshery so that Meshery server can create the connection. And this would be a wonderful experience. From my perspective, it would be wonderful that what has happened is that helper command, basically that small utility system config, is really just a helper to like get you your kube config in a way that Meshery can use it. But that wasn't the objective. The objective was like, here's my Kubernetes cluster. I want Meshery to connect to it. So do that. But what was getting in the way is, your kube config doesn't have the certificate, isn't formed in the way in which Meshery can readily use it. So there was a separate utility. And that wasn't the goal ever. The goal was connected to, tell Meshery to talk to Kubernetes. So if we can have a connect command that takes care of that utility work in the background, wonderful. It doesn't have to be in the background per se. We're going to ask users questions and that kind of a thing. And then it's just an enhanced and robust command
something it's coming in my mind here. We could have connection create that still behave like it is currently, and add a flag -- connect, so that way it will let the user the possibility to just create a config of connection, and if you want to connect, the -- connect will do the next steps, and perhaps we can have a connection connect command on which connection and what connection ID we want to use. I don't know, just an ID.
Yeah, I'll volley that back your way, which is to say, hey, it could be that slightly the inverse, or just sort of a changing of that particular flag. If the name of the command is connection create, you sort of expect there's going to be a connection created but maybe you want modifiers on that behavior. Maybe like it would be a modifier like, register only, or no register, or kube config only, or dash prep only, or so,
No.
like the thrust of the command is, yeah.
Yes, makes sense.
But Ian and Husseina and everybody else on the call, thoughts. I will add this. There's an artifact that Meshery CTL creates while the command is executed, and that artifact is really something of a temporary text file, a kube config file. We would do well to make sure that that is either written and persisted under Meshery, the .meshery folder, the .meshery folder in the users directory, or is just completely removed after the command is executed. But was somebody else going to say something?
We used to store it under .meshery directory. So this
Nice.
command also should be storing it there, right? Matthew?
There's I'm just thinking about it. We have, I think so. Yes, I think so. I think it will create something in
Config folder?
I need.
Yeah, and I might not have run the
Mhm.
most recent command, but that suggestion, or that suggestive question, it makes perfect sense. Makes sense to me that either the config folder or if there was to be a new.
I think this one config.yml file.
Yeah, and I just don't remember but yeah, either whether I put that there or the command did, either way, wonderful. Like, yeah, this is our space. That's where we're guaranteed to have this, that we're supposed to write there. And then, yeah, so long as we keep this somewhat sensible in its organization, where, collectively, if we organize it, this is always I've always not liked whatever. Never mind. Keep my. All right. Other thoughts, comments? Other people use the command. That's another. So, by the way, another great way to engage and learn the project and learn more of these skills is like outside of offering review in reflection of code changes, just offering review on the behavior or testing it out, that's super helpful as well. Very helpful. So even if you're not comfortable with the code, fine. Actually good, then go run the thing, and that really helps. Okay. All right. Hey, we're so on to our next topic. Actually, Pragalava, do you want to go next? Do you want to talk about more Meshery CTO?
Yeah. Hello, everyone. I will just share my screen quickly. So this is a very quick bug that I have found today. Actually, I was configuring Meshery on my home lab today. Am I audible?
Yep.
Yeah. So I was configuring Meshery in my home lab today. So what happened was, after configuring, I ran the meshctl system status command, and it showed me an endpoint that is localhost and the port 9081. But I'm running Talos and MetalLB in it. So I had an external IP, which it should show here. So instead of showing the actual endpoint, it was showing the local host, which, the endpoint which is stored in the config file. And, I had opened a PR, and, the logic I have given in this PR was already implemented in the system dashboard command. So yeah, that is about it, about this issue that I faced today.
And so, yeah, that's good. It's on one hand, it sounds like you're just sharing an experience, which is wonderful, helpful. As a matter, and I think there's more to it than just this. Even if that was it, that's wonderful. Thanks for doing that.
Yeah.
But on top of that, even if there's a command, Meshery system dashboard or Meshery system dashboard port forward or whatever, that addresses this, it might be that there might be room for improvement anyway. Do you want to?
Yeah, I think one thing that I have done here in this PR, because I just opened it today, I've been thinking about it. So I was giving the user, suggestion that you can run this command, and the endpoint will be, it is displayed that the Messery endpoint is localhost 9081, but in the config file it was still localhost. So we can do one thing, is what I'm thinking right now is, uh, instead of telling the user to run the dashboard command, I can apply that in the system status command itself.
Well, say more. What do you mean?
So what I mean is, instead of, I was giving the user a suggestion that you can run system dashboard command, which also updates the config file. So instead of telling the user to, run that as a suggestion, because
Yeah,
the
yeah, it's
endpoint
good.
and the
Yeah,
config
yeah.
is,
I'll stop it.
yeah.
Yeah, thanks. For other people may very well disagree with me. No, hell no, don't do that. And it sounds counterintuitive. Well, what do you mean, Lee? Why wouldn't we help the user? Like they literally, in this case, they literally can't go to HTTP localhost 9081. They literally can't get there and see the Meshery dashboard. So why wouldn't we have the functionality, why wouldn't we just run it and then get them there? Like, duh, like, doesn't that improve the user experience? Like, it's counterintuitive, but it absolutely does not. It just gets you in trouble. First of all, it's not always, yeah, so there's a bunch of reasons why. And before you guys have to listen to me explain it for 10 minutes, maybe I'll just stop there and anyone can feel free to disagree if you like. And then I'll explain it maybe. I've explained it so many times. I just don't think you guys want to hear it. It's counterintuitive. What a jerk this guy Lee is. He just told me no.
No.
And no, I know. Yeah. But again, Lee, the way that you described it was like, yeah, like it's pretty much guaranteed they're going to want to run the command, like pretty much. Maybe there's a couple of situations in which they could get to where they need to go at localhost. And it is the case that they can. Sometimes it will be that they can access it that way, even though there's anyway, I won't take the next 10 minutes and explain the rest of it, but like keep thinking about it. Praglava, and see if you can come up with reasons. Try to argue why you wouldn't do it. Why would it be bad for us to basically auto run that behavior for them? Why would it be bad? You've proposed why it would be good, and try to think about why it would be bad.
Okay, thank you.
Does anybody have a suggestion as to why it might be bad? It's not entirely bad, by the way. It's just the negative aspects outweigh the positives. And so open up a discussion forum thread if you would, if you want to. We can sort of, I think everybody will maybe expand their horizons in that discussion. Well, good. I'm totally randomly jumping around, mostly to avoid having to talk myself. Ranak, does anybody else have a comment on?
I was just looking at the pull request. So you just duplicate what was done in the other command, right?
Yes.
It could have perhaps been better to have a command function reused in both places instead of duplicate the code.
Also, I believe system status should be quick and then give exactly the status rather than getting into why something has failed, right? So we can just point them to run dashboard command also in this case as a next step.
Yeah. I will be thinking about it and update it in Slack.
Yeah. And just for Husseina and Matthew, Praglava, is that how you say your name? Praglava? No.
It is Pragalva.
Oh man.
Yeah, it's
Oh.
quite hard.
It's one too many A's. I don't think I can. It's like my brain gets to about the first pra, I'm good. And then wait, then my tongue goes. Anyway, I'm just yeah, good. By the way, Mr. Sapkota wasn't disagreeing with Matthew or Husseina. He was just stating that, oh, hey, that homework assignment about thinking about why it can be negative to do so. I'll think about that, is what he was saying. So yeah, I hope, yeah. Good. Hey, Ranak, you're up. You've got, are you in a position that you want to chat about the status of
Yeah.
Meshery? All right.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so the issue is about that we want to migrate our talks.mystery.io from Jekyll to Hugo. And why exactly we are doing it? Because Hugo builds site with blazing fast speed than Jekyll. So it's quite faster. And this is a PR addressing the initial migration. So currently, like we have added the default layout of the site and migrated all the sassy CSS files that we had in Jekyll, and we are also having some like the default template. This is the base of .html. So it's just a template this is just a default template of the page. So whenever we don't mention any template that a page is using, it gets this one gets used. So I can also just show uh, by building it, and as you can see, it's built in 52 milliseconds, so quite fast. So this is how it currently looks like. This is the home page and nav bar, and that's all we have till now. But like the ask is like, do we need a separate repository for the migration so that I can move things much more faster, and then later on we can just keep it, just take it back in the Meshery/Meshery.
Uh, Question I have: if we do that, how you will be able to have all the pages? I mean that currently, each time we are doing changes in Meshery style, for example, it recreate the documentation page for each command based on automation. And if you are in another repository, it will need to be to have a link between both. When a pull request is created one place, you will need a sync on the other repository. It's just something that I'm not sure it's will be good. It will help, I say, for to be faster, but yes, that's the only constraint I'm seeing there.
Yeah, I believe that's a valid suggestion. So uh, perhaps we need not want a separate repo, but yeah.
But I know that we have some pages that are static. Perhaps for those, it will be good to have the website in another repository, but we will have to move back to the main repository after work. So we will have to make 2 times a migration of data. So I don't know if it's really useful to have another repo. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a valid suggestion. Uh,
Wonderful. Anybody else have thoughts?
like I'm also open if someone would like to work with me on this, as it's a quite lot of migration about all the documentation. So I believe like if Kishore um would like to help.
Yeah. Yeah, you know who's working on a Hugo site is Bhumika. She's working on a Hugo site right now, so she'd be a good one to
All right.
trade notes with. Not that Kishore or anyone else couldn't jump in, but yeah, great. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
um, yeah, good. Do you guys, I don't, is that are we concluded on the discussion about the repo then? Or do you guys need more for further discussion or? So no repo, right?
Yeah, that's all for me.
There is the lack of this is how people miscommunicate. When I ask a question, then you don't answer it. So, okay, no repo. All right. There is, Ranak, you'll need to make, so the thing that Matthew mentioned is, there are a bunch of those actually. There's a bunch of gotchas or caveats where there's a number of components that are self-documenting. There's a number of automated commits that go on from other repositories, from the Meshery repository and from other repositories that get pushed into there. It's not that as you work on the new site, it's not that that data needs to be automatically updated every night and while the site is in draft, that doesn't need to be there. If there was a different repo, it would be fine that it's just using a static set of files. It doesn't need to have those auto commits pointed over there, but it absolutely needs to be aware of the fact that that is going on, and make sure that it can handle that. It'll be easier to handle that within the Meshery repo itself because you can just do it.
Mhm.
Let me know if there's something that's slowing you down by having it in the Meshery repo. I don't know that there is anything slowing you down. The balance of having it in the repo that it's in is, well, then yeah, you won't just slip in a bunch of fat code or whatever. Like, hey, the PRs will be reviewed. You'll also get a chance to work on the workflow that does a preview deployment or deployment preview. That'll help. What you have right now, by the way, just as some feedback, it looks almost indistinguishable from what the way that the site currently looks, which is great. Like, maybe there's some minor improvements. If Apoe puts his eyeballs on it, I'm sure he'll find some UX improvements that need to be done from Mr. Daniel. But that would just be bonus points, or like that's not the first part of the goal. Right now, if you try to go build Meshery docs, you might wait like 90 seconds, 2 minutes or more each and every time that you make a change to a doc and you press you save the file. It's just the documentation is too large of a doc set for Ruby and Jekyll to run. We've done enhancements we're using a Jekyll plugin, a cache plugin, so that Ruby doesn't have to, or Jekyll doesn't have to rebuild every single collection, every single page from template. That sometimes gets in the way as you're doing development on the site, and then you don't realize, like, you think you made a change, but no, the change wasn't manifested, it wasn't materialized because that page was cached. So, and there's a long history of things that we have with Jekyll. The things that are going to be the most difficult about migrating to Hugo is, there's a list of caveats like those that Matthew just mentioned, and you'll need to put that list together. You need to make sure that you're very well aware of it. The second thing is that there are a number of helper functions or include files that we have right now that need to be mapped to Hugo. Yeah, what's Hugo?
Hugo partials it has.
And that way we've got same same short codes and same partials, same includes.
Okay.
Not that we can't end up with more, or not that we can. Part of what I'm also, I don't know, I would be for those of you who read the Meshery docs, they're not well laid out. The information architecture of the documentation is at a high level fairly decent. If you visit docs.meshery.io, the way that it lays out like installation and overview, or overview and installation, concepts, guides and tutorials, community and contributing, and then the reference, that's good. We've got a little extra with the integrations and extensions,
Mhm.
and a little extra with extensibility, and so it's a mild amount of just a very, very mild amount of reflection that we could do at the very high level. But largely at the high level, the way that the documentation is laid out is good. It's all the rest, the second and third levels, not all of it, but much of it is either antiquated or not written in a way in which people are offered tutorials and guides to go do the common use cases, that the common uses that they need to do. There are a number of pages. Part of the challenge that we have right now with Jekyll is that the table of contents on the left-hand side, if you make a new page, the table of contents is not automatically updated. This is a hand-curated list, table of contents. And while that control can feel nice, there are any number of pages that are not represented over here that you can't navigate to unless you search the site, and then you would find it. So you can build in functionality like that on top of Jekyll. I've asked, I don't know how many times on calls for contributors to do it. It's not very difficult actually, but it hasn't been done. People get lost in the CSS. So Hugo will help with things like that. Anyway, what I was going to say is there's a particular framework for, it's a French framework, so hopefully that will please Matthew. Oui, oui. That's the one word in French that I know. I also know the word for owl. OU, is that it? No. Oui, OU. What is it? What's the word for a bird? Owl? Yeah, say it again.
What the word for what?
Bird, owl, like a night owl.
Oiseau.
Yeah, wazoo. Yeah, that's it. That's it. Yeah, yeah. Okay. Anyway, my daughter, her name is Wren. So like a bird. So anyway, wazoo. What I was trying to say is let me share this. And I think this is probably the last discussion that we have. That is that outside of uplifting of the framework from Jekyll to Hugo, I mean, it's painful to write documentation in Meshery docs right now because it takes so bleep, 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 bliggity, bleep long to build the site. It's like idiot, and it sucks. And the thing is like almost every single pull request, almost every single one should have an update to the documentation. Like, because the documentation covers all the things, whether it was a test or functionality or a bug or like but it all, sometimes you don't need to put it in there as much because like Matthew said, sometimes some components are self-documenting, like our REST APIs, our GraphQL APIs, the CLI. There is like for everyone to understand this. Let me find the reference real fast. So a number of times we've laid out how Meshery docs should be laid out. That's sitting inside of the Meshery repo. If you go to docs, I think there's a README right in the docs folder. We used to have an outline of what the information architecture should be within this document. It might have gotten removed, deleted. In the shared community drive, there'd be a Google Doc that lays it out a little bit better. I mean, irrespective, what I'm trying to point out is that if you go take a tour of other open source projects and how their documentation is laid out, it'll be an interesting reflection for you. Like, are theirs laid out well or not well? Do you like how theirs is laid out or not? If you go to the Kubernetes documentation, you may or may not like the way it's laid out, actually. Or if you go to sometimes, there's a bunch of them. There's a bunch of projects to go look at. I mean, within the CNCF in particular. Let me find the name of this framework that I wanted to share with you all. I just can't remember it. There. This I don't know, this diataxis or diataxis framework. Got it. I'll share this link. This is a perspective about how documentation should be laid out. Hey, go have a look. Go see what you think. And go have a look at some of the other CNCF projects and see how their documentation is laid out. See if you like it. The high level of ours, I think, is done fairly well. But this has been a pain point for me. This has been something that's been difficult for me to get away from and look at correctly. It's often difficult for me to try to categorize a piece of instructional content as either most appropriate as a tutorial, as a guide. What the hell is the difference between those two? Or as like a common task, or some of this you can tell the difference between, but it's not always. There's a lot of overlap and it gets muddled in my mind. So outside of the shift from one framework to the next, there's an opportunity somewhere to improve the information architecture of Meshery's documentation. Anybody have anything else for today? Normally, well, we have a weekly newcomers meeting, and it's on Friday. On Friday, I think it starts an hour earlier than this meeting does, but on Friday. If you've been to that meeting, go again, especially if it takes a while to get your sea legs. Go again, go again, go again. Actually, at some point, host the meeting. You know, if you're getting comfortable, or just offer up 10 minutes on something like what Mr. Sapkota gave an example of. Hey, if you don't know Meshery CTL, here's a command you might want to be like, offer up something back. Another excellent way to learn is by trying to, teach others or share. Last call. Anybody have anything else? So if you'd like to lead yeah.
Yes, actually, I'd like to share my screen. I'm sharing
it's
it.
too wait. Yeah, no, we're over time. Actually, you had that time. Not the screen share. If you have something, a quick question, but otherwise.
All right. Oh, no problem. Yeah. As I was just wanted to give an update. As I was working on refactoring Meshery REST APIs. I've done all the things, but just I'm having hard time with I think Liquid, because I'm unable to filter out the cloud APIs. But the serious problem is in old swagger.yaml, which is we are gonna avoid. It has like 170 plus Meshery REST API endpoints, and if you're looking at the open API.yaml, which is the new target we'll be using, that has only like 17 endpoints. So we are like losing 153 endpoints right now. So we need to add them eventually in the schema repository. And yeah, I'll be raising a PR as soon as possible. I'm just left with that Liquid thing because I'm having a hard time filtering out because my logic is failing there. So I'll be raising a PR.
You're nice. Yeah,
Yeah.
if you would, a document that just highlights the names of those APIs that we're not, that we're missing. That would be helpful.
Yeah, I saw somewhere of some endpoints were tagged with like cloud and all those things. And as you asked me to don't consider those which were tagged with cloud. So
Yeah, I thought you just said that we were
there are
missing some.
yeah.
I thought you just said that as you're doing this, that like,
Yes.
here, do this. We have a current set of REST APIs published.
Yes.
Get
Yeah.
that list and then compare that to
Okay.
the list of endpoints that you're looking at publishing.
Okay. Thank you. That's all I was having.
Oh, good deal. Okay. All right. For those of you who've had the pleasure of using liquid templating, that's part of the framework that Jekyll uses. So some shorthand or a small scripting library that's used by Shopify, actually, to help people put up small stores. They have content. It's basically the same thing. Same thing as what you do in documentation. So anyway, good. Okay. Yeah, Yash, that's good. It's good to hear that. Well, we'll see some of you back in Slack, some of you back in GitHub, some of you in the discussion forum, and the rest of you on the newcomers call on Friday. And somebody will
Yes.
form a certification study group, I suspect. Good. Okay. All right. Hey, very nice to see you all. Thanks for joining.
Bye.
See you, man.
Thank you all.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Thank you.